Hey, how you doing? This is John, and this is John's Long Box. Today, as you may or may not know, my comic, I have over 100 long boxes filled with comics, and they're just when I moved, they were just stacked up in my basement. I'm preparing a room to organize them in. So I just look through boxes, and I'm always surprised at what I'm going to find. I mean, they're in alphabetical order, but the boxes are all over the place. So each box is in alphabetical order, but A's are not next to the B's necessarily. So whenever I open up a box, I'm always a little surprised what I'm going to find. And I got to this box which had Doom Patrol in it. So I was like, you know what? I'm doing a Doom Patrol. So I looked through my old collection of Doom Patrol, and I just wanted a nice silly cover to give you guys a good taste of Doom Patrol. So here we are. This is DC Comics Doom Patrol. There was a comic called My Greatest Adventure, and it was on the verge of being canceled. And My Greatest Adventure was an adventure comic, exactly that. So they, just like with the Fantastic Four, Stan Lee hedged his bets because they were doing monster comics. So they introduced like superheroes, but they didn't have costumes. So this one, they wanted to make a team of adventurers. So it filled both niches. It was superheroes were making a comeback. This was 1963 was the debut of the Doom Patrol. So My Greatest Adventure number 80 debuted the Doom Patrol. And the Doom Patrol, if you ask me, they were a little inspired by the Fantastic Four. So just like the Thing was argumentative and kind of a misfit, this was the team of misfits. So they all were freaks, and they argued with each other, they bickered, and Anton Drake originally came out really strong. Anton Drake's the writer who created them. He came out swinging and said that Stan Lee had ripped him off because they were a bunch of misfits led by a genius in a wheelchair. Later, he said that a lot of the artists and writers went back and forth with Marvel and DC, and somebody must have told him. He has since cooled on the idea and says it's possible that it was a coincidence that the X-Men and the Doom Patrol came out. So I don't know. I wasn't there. I'd like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt that there was nothing hostile going on. But they will all work with the same people, inspired by the same TV shows and books. So a lot of overlap. But this is DC's Doom Patrol. This is their X-Men. Obviously, they were never as popular. So they were a bunch of freaks, misfits, led by a super genius in a wheelchair. This is issue 98, 12 cents as the comic code. Okay, and at this point the comics were broken up into two stories. So there's the death of the Doom Patrol and then 60 Sinister Seconds. So I'm just going to give you a little brief introduction. This is Robot Man, Cliff Steele. He was a race car driver, and his car flipped over. He got into an accident and his body was destroyed. So Niles Calder, the chief, he's the super genius in a wheelchair. He's not on this cover. Niles Calder took out Cliff Steele's brain and put it into this. He was originally called the Automation, and then I think before publication he became Robot Man. And I just think it's funny that he wears shorts. But and he wears this camera so that the chief could see him and give him advice. And Robot Man has the standard array of powers: super strength, super endurance, but he also has he doesn't need to breathe, he doesn't need to eat, but he does have like inside of his belly like a nutrient chemical to keep his brain. So he is limited. He has to come back and restock his nutrients. This is Negative Man. Larry Trainer was a pilot, and his plane crashed after going too high and got like belted by radiation or whatever. And he's able to unleash like this spirit form of negative X-ray energy that is like travels at light speed. It could pass through objects and irradiate you and do all sorts of, sometimes just whatever the plot needs. But he always referred to it as Negative Man, and he was Larry Trent, like they were separate. So later writers developed this, but at the time, like, Negative Man really didn't have a personality. And his weakness was, after 60 seconds, if Negative Man didn't return to Larry Trainer's body, they would both die. So that's why 60 Sinister Seconds. So that was always just like everything took 59 seconds. Will he be back? If there was there is a TV show. I just haven't seen it. it must be like a ticking clock with sweat. Oh, he's not returning. And sometimes like Negative Man kind of displayed like a will of his own. And this is Elastigirl, Rita Farr, an actress, and I think a meteor crashed and she got sprayed with this gas, and she could shrink and grow, so she could turn like giant size and miniature size. I don't necessarily know how that makes you a freak. And then later on, she could like stretch and shape change. Like I always say, this power creep. You like Negative Man, definitely power creep. But superheroes, they always kind of develop out. And here, this is the debut of Mr. 103. The Doom Patrol, if you ask me, has the charm of having the silliest villains. But Mr. 103, guess that he could control or change atoms of all 103 elements on the periodic table. So he's turning his body into the things that would stop them. So lead, because he's made in X-rays, he can't pass through lead. So here he is going at the speed of light right into lead. Ba-boom. Magnets. Of course, you're Robot Man, so a magnets would stop you. And I think this is what, electricity? Whatever. I don't know. Wouldn't electricity hurt anybody? But here we go. We're gonna open up this comic. It's surprisingly good condition. Here's the old ads that I just love these so much. I'm gonna check out this indicia. So it's the Doom Patrol. Here, my hand, I got paint that won't come off. There's actually magic marker from work. But the original comic was My Greatest Adventure, and then it was My Greatest Adventure featuring the Doom Patrol, and the My Greatest Adventure eventually dropped off. And it lasted, I think it was 120 was their last issue, but September 1965. Okay, this periodical may not be sold except by authorized dealers and sold subject to the conditions that it shall not be sold or distributed without its cover missing. That's a big deal, because on the newsstand, if you ever found comic books with the cover missing, that means you had an unscrupulous news vendor. And because what they do is, you after like 2 or 3 months, you would rip the covers off and send the covers back, and then you'd get credited. So it was no risk to you. And then a lot of times you'd see kids just reading comics with no covers because the news vendor would just give them away. But so you couldn't sell those, but you gave them away. So I saw a lot of comics without covers as a kid. Okay, so this is a good splash page. It reminds me of the X-Men in the Danger Room. Remember, the X-Men are going on in full swing now. Both comics have been coming out. So I don't see any credits, but it was Anton Drake and I can't remember the artist. But here they are. That's Larry Trey. He wears these bandages, and the bandages are coated in lead to contain the Negative Man. And he's hideously scarred, so he's truly freakish. And then he would release the Negative Man. Look at he's training the Negative Man. And this is Cliff Steele, Robot Man. Of course, like I said, he's got the standard array of super strength and vulnerability, and endurance. He could go underwater. And then is Cliff Steele. He's not a bald guy, but he's and he was always harsh and yelling and ordering people around. And they played that up to where later on, in the 80s, the secret truth was revealed that he orchestrated all the accidents. So he's this unscrupulous scientist that's always been behind the scenes manipulating. He had he was decapitated, and his head was kept alive by machines, and his code name was The Head. Goofy stuff. And there's Elastigirl. I like this old-fashioned art. Yes, this is old style coloring, old style, on pencil. I love the just in case you didn't know it was DC, on every page. And here he is he's telling them, that's it, the Doom Patrol is done. Get out of here, pack your bags, you're leaving. The team's over with, you're a bunch of failures. Why? Because he's been diagnosed, he has 90 days left to live from some sort of illness. Some made-up comic book illness. And he's too proud to tell them. He doesn't want his team to see him get weak and die. So he's just defaulting to his nasty personality. Get out of here, you bunch of losers. I never want to see you. Look at Cliff Steele's like, why I oughta? He ain't worth it. And the Elastigirl's like, oh, Rita Farr. That she was a Hollywood actress, and because she could grow and shrink, she can't work. I don't know. She looks perfectly fine. So here they are packing their bags and leaving. And they're like, what do we do now? And like, Cliff's like, why I oughta? We start our own team. We don't need him. So that's what they do. So the Negative Man's building. They're building their own headquarters, And here's their headquarters. And I love this. They make a map. This was big back in as a kid. Just they would put like blueprints and look, the electronic laboratory, the gymnasium, the rocket tunnel, a remote tunnel to a rocket. Oh, geez, I can't even read. Rocket tunnel to remote launch pad. It's just just so much fun when you're a little kid. You see the blueprints. This spooky little mansion where they live, the old-fashioned car. I mean, this is 1965 car. 1965 car. I can't even talk anymore. So, you know, they're all happy now. They got their team going. You know, giant. What would a headquarters be without a giant monitor? And here he is, the chief, self-diagnosing himself. You know, I've got no more than 90 days left to live. If the others knew that I was dying, they'd have insisted on remaining by my side, and eventually the Doom Patrol would die too. But now that they're out to prove they can make it without me, that's good. So, you know, there you go. And of course, explosion at the bank. Such a cliche. I'm going to sneeze, guys. I'm sorry. And here he is, Mr. 103. Look at that. Yeah. just look at that. Comic. And he joined the G.I. Joe fan club. I remember the G.I. Joes when I was a kid. They were big and had fuzzy hair. And then you brought them in the tub and they would fall apart. So Mr. 103 transforms himself into lead, and the guard, just as the guard goes to punch him, boom, he interrupts him and quam, turns into lead. Well, you know, what are we going to do? So what does he turn again? Neon gas, atomic number 10, and lighter than any but the purest air, so naturally I float. So here he is turning into neon gas. And then what does he turn into? Magnesium, the lightest of all metals. So he's this light metal, and he bashes through. The electricity surges through my gas molecules, and there it is, the biggest neon tube in the world. And turned into sulfur, and create heavy resistance to the electronic. So they did a little bit of research. So here he is burning his way through the vault, and turns into I love that. You got to turn it magnetic iron, so he's got to take that shape, and he uses it to pull out all the safety deposit boxes. And here he is walking away with all the Mr. 103, the Atomic Man. I don't know why they didn't use Atomic Man. It's a better name. So here he is walking away with and this just shows you how hokey it is, because here's a guy who can transform into all the stuff. He can't just, I don't know, make gold and whatever. He controls all the atoms, but he needs to rob banks. Just like there's a Luke Cage villain called Chemo, and Chemo was a brilliant kid who had a gun, and he would fire the gun and turn things into gold. So he robs a bank with a gun that turns things into gold. So here they are. They're, you know, instead of the Bat Computer, I guess it's the Doom Patrol, and they were called the Doom Patrol because they didn't care if they lived or died, because when they first came out, they were, you know, despondent and depressed and everything, so they would take the most dangerous missions. So here he is. Because meanwhile, I'll send Negative Man out to check the crime report, the crime report computer around the town. So go, N-Man, go. So like he always refers to the negative entity as a different thing. And here, boom, flying so fast nobody could see. There's nothing there, nothing there. So he's looking for crimes, and he sees the guy walking around made out of pure diamond. The guy spins around and drills. He's like, okay, that looks like a crime. And they're off. And these ads used to drive me nuts. Just on the bottom of the page, put your nose to the dot. Good. I got to put my nose to that dot. Get me some Tootsie Rolls. Okay, this is the patrol postscripts. This is the letter page. See if anybody that I know. Stephen Bishop. Plainville in New York. Mary Sandler, Brooklyn. Okay, no names that I recognize. Here's a cool ad. Be my guest, Wolf. Palisades Amusement Park. 100 magnets. Palisades Park. I've never seen that ad before. Well, I've seen it in this, but I don't remember. Okay. Nature's Bill of Rights. What is this? Oh, this is. I thought this was part of the story. I was like, I don't remember. But this is published as a public service in cooperation with the National Social Welfare Assembly. Okay, back they used to be, you couldn't send comics in the mail and get well, you still can't get like a discount. It was sent as media mail. You would have to have like a couple pages of text. That's why they included letter pages because if it was all comic books, it wouldn't get a magazine rate. For subscriptions. So they would. This is one of the ways around it. Do public service announcements, letter pages. So here's your 2 pages to make it qualify for the cheaper subscription rate. So here's back then they broke it into chapters, or at least they did with the Doom Patrol. It takes a chief to kill a chief. So correction, I changed my server to radium so I could X-ray the contents of it. So he's really used. He did his homework. And Negative Man is going like, radioactivity can't stop me. I'm made of radioactivity. Boom, right into lead. Oh no, he changed himself into lead. One of the few elements N-Man can't penetrate. He's hurt. So, and when Negative Man gets hurt, Larry gets hurt. So Robot Man, I just like he casually walks over while the villain's just standing around watching this. Turn into freaking plutonium and kill them all right now. But whatever. So he just, goodbye, I'm going to leave while you guys just putz about. So he lays down Larry's body on top of the Negative Man, and they merge. So, they kind of, and I love how you can see his face through these lead-infused bandages. And that was a close call, we missed, and now they stop bickering. No, we're going back to the chief. We need the chief. He's like, we don't need the chief. Out of the way, Sonny. And then they go back. So the creep buzz. Oh yeah. There's a kook running the target, and you're what about his pride? Oh no, he's saying we can't go to the chief, and he's like, no, we need to do the right thing. Cliff, I brought up this concept before in one of my videos of the Pinocchio. It's the concept I made up. A Pinocchio is a character that is not human, that wishes they were human, and because of that, they're the most human of the team. And that's what I think is Cliff Steele. He's even the same color as the Thing, and the Thing was the first that I described as a Pinocchio. I remember talking to somebody. I said he's like Pinocchio. He wishes he was a real boy, and then that was the origin of my term. So he's a Pinocchio. He wants to be human, and he's holding on to his humanity. So he's like, yeah, I know the chief dissed us and was mean to us, but we got to do the right thing, and there you go. So he's running off to get the chief. They get back to their old headquarters, and look at that. He's got his pills over here. Oh no, he's dead. Don't be dead. And then my electronic ears. So he has heightened senses. He's alive just barely, and they put him in this iron lung. Okay, because there just happens to be an iron lung around there, and then it's keeping him alive. And they're talking about the chief. Oh, don't waste any time. The chief's life's more important than 1,000 103s. So chief gives him some advice what to do, and just like that, chief wake up. So here he is waking up. The chief, he's super genius, because if you're a super genius, you know everything. So they get to 103's headquarters, and here he's getting his atomic treatment to retain his powers. They jump in, turns into lead again, busts through the floor. I don't know. I love this old artwork. And then he turns into gas. I don't know if they mentioned what kind of gas. And then escapes. So they go back to the chief. Actually, bombarded his body with the substance into his bloodstream. I can't even speak anymore. And she's, oh, poor chief. He's exerting himself to tell him all the information that he needs. How can you stop him, chief? He can handle anything. You went through something that never existed. That's precisely what I was investigating, the explosion. So he was already trying to deal with Mr. 103 when the explosion gave him this illness that's only a iron lung. So he was experimenting with teleportation, transmitting men through like air, like radio waves. What requires separating a man's body into components of it. Here it comes now, 103. We knew you'd back. You need that machine to sustain your powers. Clever of you, but very stupid of you to challenge me again. Do you realize I am invincible? And he goes to punch him. He turns into Mercury. Is Mercury red? Because one of the metal men is Mercury, and he's also red. And then he turns himself into pure sodium, ignites with water into a burst, and then a fantastic array that produces. Okay, now you have to try this. He shoots him with a ray that freezes him. Freezing temperatures that don't bother. Blah 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 blah. Good glory. They produce. You crack the metal. They're messing with him. He changes himself to nitrogen. You froze the nitrogen. This isn't from our world. So they're using a ray gun from another planet that's just messing with him, and because he doesn't know the chemical composition that freezes him, and ta-da, they beat him. It's critical, so now they're forcing him to use his atomic power to cancel out the molecules that are in his body that he got during the explosion, and voila, he's using some sort of radioactive isotope of copper, and that's curing him. And notice she did absolutely nothing. I just would like to point that out. So here he is. Cliff Steele's like, okay, I'm gonna lock you in the jail, and the end. Everybody's happy. And then this Tootsie Pop ad. This, the enemy ace of DC Comics ad. And this is the Sinister 60 Seconds. This story's pretty cool, actually. And look at this artwork. They didn't credit the artists. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to put that in the comments who the artists are. I can't remember. But look at this. These hooded beings around a table in the dark in some medieval dungeon. This can't be any good. But they gotta watch. So what they're doing is they set up 4 bombs, and they're all gonna detonate at the same time, and they're gonna jumpstart World War III. Step 1, set up the bombs. Step 2, detonate the bombs. Step 3, question mark. Step 4. Step 3, start World War III. Step 4, question mark. Step 5, profit. That old meme. So here he is. He knows about the bombs. We got 60 seconds to deactivate the bombs, dismantle the bombs, whatever the word is. So only he could do it. So Negative Man goes, and ticking clock, tick, tick, tick. The dial just as end man in seconds. Just job will be finished, or the world will die. So. Go here, go here. He's directing him. He goes flying through here. Where is he? He's in the Soviet Union, a Russian missile base, and they're attacking him. He's zigzagging through, slagging all the planes, because that won't start a war. But and then he gets it, finds where the bomb is, and the bomb is in a nuclear silo, so this would blow up and detonated warhead. And of course Larry passes out on the ground. Because all his life force is gone. No, you must pull that bomb away. It's booby trapped. So he uses his Negative Man abilities. He burns through the wall, puts water in, and gets the bomb. And here he is going to the next bomb. Flying through. I think it's if I remember correctly, it's in a submarine, phasing through the submarine walls. And is this the third bomb? So here he is going to like a nuclear silo. And what are they doing? He's right on target with us. We've done it. Okay, so he got 3 of the bombs, but the 4th bomb went off. So, where is the 4th bomb? At the moment, a Russian missile truck. Comment. What? This be the World War III. We must have conference. So these guys are ready to retaliate. A bomb just went off in a Soviet military base. Attention, nuclear explosion. That's it. We're being attacked by nuclear armed rockets. I will signal all bases to reply. So the chief goes to the president, and he explains what's going on. He goes like, you got to call the Russian premier and explain. So he's called. What? The direct line to Moscow's been cut because those shady cabal hooded Illuminati Zuckerbergs. They cut the cable. Oh, we got. Negative Man, you gotta go. So he's in the body that resets him for another 60 seconds. Time is a giant 80-page giant. Lois Lane, Superman, and his other girlfriends. Lana Lang, Lois Lane, Kara Zor-El, Lori Lamaris, and Cleopatra. Okay, fooey, chewy. And he's going back. He's flying out there. He finds the transatlantic cable, and he uses his negative abilities to fuse it together again. Fixes everything. Oh, here it is, over here. And he becomes the conductor. That's right. So he's conducting it, holding it so that the message can get through. And, attention personnel, the secure rockets, the hoax to lure ourselves in America into a war has just been exposed. The U.S. will not attack us. There will be no war. If only it was that easy. And he comes back just in the nick of time. He made it without a second to spare. I never want to live through another minute like that. That was a close call, so he's all rattled. And then an ad for Jerry Lewis. Jerry Lewis, the chiller dealer with 1001 Gasping Guffaws, the monster who went to camp. There's Jerry Lewis being bottle fed. Jerry Lewis, hey ladies. Little Pete is advertising. Oh no, this was like little gags. Gary Bolton. This was little gags that they would just really use to fill up space. So this is actually part of the comic. 10 issues of Doom Patrol for only $1. Man, look at that. Special $1 subscription form. National Com. That's right. I should talk about this. DC Comics was originally called National Comics, just like Marvel Comics was originally called Timely Comics, and then it became Atlas Comics, and then it became Marvel Comics. So at this point, it was National Comics. And DC Comics comes from Detective Comics, which debuted Batman. So some of their titles have a National Comics stamp, and some of them have a DC Comics stamp. And here you go. So Mets, official Mets, get a $10 for an official Mets wristwatch, Mr. Met. And for a dime, you can get this body. You give them a dime, you wake up the next day, and you have this body. Okay, you, the He-Man. That's hell of a dime. And then go full throttle with Wedmac. So get a, I think this is, oh, I remember these kind of cars. You came with this oil, and you put this oil into and that powered it. Yeah, it had a little engine in the car. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm sure it was a death trap and probably started fires. But this was 1965 when we didn't care about death. Okay, so this is the Doom Patrol. I think this is neat. I'm gonna look up the artist and I'll put it in either the description or the comments. Hope you like this. I love the Doom Patrol. They're just hokey. It's silly. It's goofy, and it's wonderful. You know, it's whimsical is a good word. It's everything it's pure and wholesome. It's so refreshing. You know, that it's escapism at its best. And a funny story is in Doom Patrol 120, the sales were getting pretty bad, and they decided to cancel the comic. And I think one of the artists had quit, and Anton Drake just asked him to come back and finish. Or maybe Anton Drake quit, and one of the artists asked the writer to come back and finish. And they just killed the Doom Patrol. So the comic book was getting canceled, and they all sacrificed themselves to Madame Rouge. And Madame Rouge was going to blow up this Codsville, Maine. And they all sacrificed themselves, and they took an explosion, and they were all destroyed to save the civilians, because, you know, they were heroes. And they were supposed to be dead. Comic was over. They weren't selling too well. I guess they didn't see any potential in the future. But of course, nobody ever stays dead in comics. And I think Cliff Steele Robot Man was the one that survived. They found his robot body and brought it back. And then they had a new version of the Doom Patrol in 1977. And it was the Chief's unknown wife, and her name was Celsius, and she had the power of hot and cold power, like flame and ice and stuff like that. And she was looking for the missing Niles Calder, and she got Cliff Steele. And then they found Negative Woman, a female with the same powers of him. And Beast Boy was debuted in this comic, who later joined the Teen Titans. And she recruited Beast Boy, and I'm not sure. Elastigirl didn't come back until, like, I think the third reboot. I think, and a Niles Calder. I told you they made him like kind of sinister, so he had cells of everybody, and he cloned her. So the version of Elastigirl that you see in the TV show, that she's kind of daffy, I think that's the clone, because the clone, I think the material degenerated and she didn't come back properly. And then that series spawned the Grant Morrison, just wonderful, just out there Doom Patrol. I gotta dig those out. They're obviously in the next box after this, but that box could be anywhere in the 100 or so box. But Doom Patrol is just a phenomenal comic. I would recommend, if anybody's thinking, you get the trade paperbacks with Grant Morrison as the writer. Just you can't go wrong. Just great comic books. Okay, there you go. This is Doom Patrol. Please like my videos. And when I say like, I mean hit that like button, not just enjoy them. Although I hope you enjoy them too. You subscribe, because if once I get 1,000 subscribers, I can monetize this channel. I hate to be crude, but I'd like to pay for some of these comics that I've been collecting for all my life. And so I need 1,000 subscribers before I could do that. I'm only at 73, so who knows. And there's a little button that looks like a bell. If you hit that, whenever I post a video, you'll get an alarm. So there's always that. All right, thanks a lot. Please comment. I love the comments. It's fun. I wish there was more comments. Get some dialogue going. All right, thanks a lot. Bye bye.